Good morning, King.
Good
How are you today?
good morning, Dan. I'm doing really well today. We're having a great day. I'm excited about good things that we're doing and excited about all that's going on right now. How are
Yeah,
you?
me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I was really excited to see that, in our last YouTube video that we talked about, we were discussing worrying, right?
Ah,
And
yeah.
just for our new YouTube subscribers out there, my name is Dana Ben Halim.
Yeah.
I'm a mom of three, and I'm a business owner, and I managed to sell my business, and now I went through married for almost 15 years, and yeah, just a lot going on with me. So through my journey of life, I met King, who is now my teacher and mentor, and I started searching for happiness, really. And upon my search, I met King, who just taught me a lot about incredible findings around the word happiness. So, because we had so many great phone conversations, we said, we should really share this. You can't just sit and learn so much about life and not share. So this is our contribution to you and to the world, giving back. And I'm going to let my teacher, mentor, and friend do an introduction. King, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself for our new subscribers?
Yes, indeed. I'd love that. Hi, guys. I'm King Gabriel, and I'm a spiritual transformer, a healer, a mentor, as you see. And my life has been really, really interesting. It's like so many wonderful things happen, and I've learned so many lessons in my life, as well as had mystical experiences that let me know more about the nature of life. And so that's what I'm really sharing here. I use it through words and through little anecdotes and stuff that we could probably all understand, but really the content of it is otherworldly, and it's something that I really want to share at this time. So thank you so much for listening with us and having this. And again, I'm just like you. We're having fun and living life and doing all these different things too. But information comes through that's really valuable, that helps through life. So I want to give it because that's what it's for. It's for giving. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Forgiving. And
Yeah.
that's
For
exactly
giving.
what we're talking about
Yeah.
today. Um,
Exactly.
King, I just want to mention, to the audience, and you can feel free to add this in. Nobody has to be of a particular, religion or background, or to be able to open up to this material and stuff and teaching, if you like.
Yeah.
Um, you can practice whatever religion or spirituality that you
Yeah.
choose.
Uh-huh.
This is really about searching, understanding words more about understanding words around, let's say, forgiveness, happiness, care. What they mean, why humans behave the way they do, and how to grow. It really is. So it doesn't. Can you add? Would you like to add to that, King? Because what if somebody is like, what, I'm really a religious person, I'm really practicing, and I'm not really open to hearing about meditation and stuff.
And
So can
other stuff.
you address
Yeah.
that?
What I have to address with that is that it's not about, as Dana said, it's not about religion at all, actually, right? You can be a Muslim, you can be a Catholic, you can be whatever. There's a contact with your direct source of being, right? Whether you want to call it by whatever name, it's perfectly fine. Everybody has their different understanding of it. But truly, we're all alive, and life comes from somewhere. That life-giving energy comes from somewhere. We're all rooted into that, regardless of what we say we are, right? We're alive. And so as being these living beings and having living experiences, we're sharing about that life source, regardless of what it's called, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're a specific religion or you have no religion, you're alive. And we're talking about life in that way. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to start. Today is a really big topic, very close to my heart. Because to be honest, audience and King, I learned more about this word forgiveness when I was at one point in my life extremely stressed, and I really felt trapped. Trapped in the sense of not only did I not know what to do, I felt helpless to be able to even do it. Like there was no solution. And before we get into like forgiveness and the solutions,
Yeah.
where does that come from, King?
Forgiveness itself?
Sorry, no, the feeling of being trapped and feeling like there's no way out of this. Like I've tried, I've done it again and again, and I just can't do it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to put it. The thing is, if we really look at that feeling of being trapped or being helpless, it comes from the transition from our natural state. Like let's do it from birth. Now, I'm aware that there is a time before birth, right? But we'll address it from birth for this conversation, right? Now, when we're born, we come into the world and we're in these little bodies all of a sudden, really small and compact, right? And we depend on the world for everything, right? We cry. We depend on our mothers to come and feed us then, right? And now this is us as a little being, and this is where the ego drive is developed, by the way. I'm going to address that a little later on, but I'm saying this is where the ego drive comes from. We come in as these little babies and we start crying. We cry for our mothers to come and give us milk, right? Now, if we get that instantly, then we start thinking things like, oh, when I cry, this is my prayer is answered in a sense. My cry is answered. I get food, right? However, if we cry and we realize that we're not getting it, for some reason the mother is busy or whatever and doesn't come and feed, then we start realizing, well, sometimes I cry and I don't get it, right? So then we start thinking things like, wait a minute, there's a chance that I could get it or I can't get it. And then there starts to develop this thing in our mind where there's a question as to whether or not when we ask for something, we'll get it, right? So that starts to develop a little doubt in our mind, and bit by bit, our ego starts becoming more and more uncertain that it will get what it wants. And then it almost becomes fearful to even ask because we're not sure because of that individual thing. Whereas before, in spirit world or whatever you want to call it, or what we understand, it's every time you ask, you'd get it. It must be delivered because you asked, because you are it, right? There was nothing to latch on or try to get. It was just given. So now there's that conflict, and in us, there's that feeling of helplessness too, because we're not fully in control is what we understand when we're those little babies asking for stuff and not getting it. That's how that part of life develops for most people, right? And in other people, it's throughout life, like even later on in life, past the stage of being babies. Later on, they start encountering things in relationships that tell them you can't always get what you want. Because remember, the ego drive is usually for one individual. But where we live, it's not just one individual.
Yes.
It's us, and there are others. So we have to take others' needs into consideration as well. Because if I was to have everything, all the gold and everything here, right? And nobody else had any, right? A lot of people would be totally uncomfortable with that, right?
Yes.
You know? And that's how it would work in a world where it was only us. The only thing is here, it's not only us. And that's why that part of things has to be sort of balanced for us to come together and understand that we're not really helpless, right? We do have everything, but we have everything along with everybody else. That's how we have everything, right?
Yeah. Well, the feeling of being trapped was very interesting at the time with me.
Yeah.
Was that, I mean, if I was to be really authentic with myself at the time, and I reached a point in the trappedness where I was like, okay, I'm in conflict. Yeah. I'm not trapped. I'm actually struggling between something that I know that I have to do and that I don't want to do anymore. You know, it's like, okay, so I guess I'm fed up of trying, you know, but and a lot, I know that I've had conversations with friends, and that it seems that to go beyond that is just, okay, I have to fix myself, and you don't want to, and you're all in conflict, but it's way harder than I ever imagined it to be.
Yeah.
Is to what we're going to get to about, the healing part.
Yeah.
I think it's more difficult than anything. It's more difficult than a breakup in a relationship, more difficult than moving countries.
Yeah.
It's really is.
Yeah.
And so in this, King, we're going to get to my awareness of my little circle after I met you, and I went through this trapped feeling.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to how I came out of that.
Yep.
I discovered that what I really wanted was love.
Yes.
I really wanted love.
Yeah.
And love in the sense of understanding, compassion, and just, healing, peace, harmony kind of love.
Yeah.
And there came a time where I really started to feel disbelief of, the love is there and it's great, but then, no, I'm not really deserving of this. So I started to become more, strong and tough, and isolate people more. And it's funny, the people that I isolated the most were actually the people that I loved the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't isolate people that, the quote, strangers, they were, so when that happened, and I want to touch upon those two before we move in my circle.
Yeah.
Can you speak to those two things, like the feeling of wanting love, and then slipping into this kind of like, I really don't deserve this, and then I'm going to start pushing everybody away?
Yeah. Well, that again is a function of something called bonding and rejection, right? And when I say that, there's these two parts. It's like the psyche is your mind in its clarity. Let's say that. Let's call that the psyche, right? It has a choice to either look on things in forms of the little body, like I spoke about, like the baby, or to look at things as your expanded self, your soul, as you call it, right? And it's your soul is where you draw your life source or your life force from, let's say, grand life, from life, right? And the feeling of being trapped is because we're looking at ourselves as a little chunk of flesh, small. Once we do that, then we have the chance to think of things, just as I said with the baby earlier on, of we could or we can't get it. There's a chance, because in that little thing, there's possibility. It's not actuality. Not everything is actualized. It's kind of a possible world, and there are all these possible things that could happen in our minds. Mm-hmm. However, on the other side of that, like I'm speaking about, there's this thing where, because the soul understands that it is everything and it's connected to everything, it never lacks anything. So it feels complete. So then the feeling of loneliness only comes from thinking that we are that thing, that little cut off thing, right? It's a feeling of loneliness. It's not really loneliness, because even if we think we are that, we still are not that. We cannot be contained, right?
That's where the conflict comes in.
Exactly, yeah.
Because it's like, I want to be on my alone, but you really don't.
Exactly.
You really don't.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says about that, because nobody wants to be isolated. Everybody wants love, acceptance, and appreciation.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much the two steps that I found. And then after the disbelief, and when I started to isolate myself, I slipped into just getting angry. And that's when the fear slipped in. And the anger came from wanting something to happen with that disbelief. So, want love. No, you don't really love me. And so isolate myself, waiting for love to come to me, expecting the response to be, well, I'm just going to push you away, but what I expect you to do is come chase me and come after me.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
And that's when it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's when I get angry, right? And I start to become really like, oh crap, nobody's coming after me, right? Like,
Mm.
then I start to get really afraid. And that's when, the rage comes out, like the mistreatment, the, just the nastiness,
Yeah.
the nastiness is when it starts to come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that, King, sorry, I'll get to these are the next two, is the anger and the fear.
Mm.
Then I'm just like, oh my God, like, what have I done?
Mm.
And it's like guilt.
Yeah.
Because again, back to the loneliness, what I really, really want is love. Like, it's always there, right? Whether I like it or not. So the anger comes out, mistreat others because you didn't come after me and love me. But now I feel guilty because I really want love. So if you want to comment on those two.
I want to talk about that for real. The love. If we really understood what we call love, we'd realize that we can't be without it at all. Right? I had this thing happen one day. I was out just running and stuff, and sometimes when I run, things just come through my mind that make sense. It's because I'm like meditating all day long. That's kind of how I live. And what came through was love is like gravity, right? In fact, love is gravity. Gravity is a representation in our physical world of love. Gravity holds everything together. We think of it as the thing that just holds things down to the earth, right? And keeps us from flying away from the earth. But it's the thing that actually draws every single thing here together, keeps it together, keeps things together, keeps us able to hold and touch things, keeps people together if they're attracted to each other. It has this thing that that's what gravity does. It brings everything together. It brings the atoms of the body together, keeps them together if they're alike, right? It's almost like thought fields that draw them in, but that's what gravity does. So then love itself, if we really understand what love is, love holds things together. That's what love does, right? It's an energy force that holds everything together. And to think of love as having to come from somewhere else when we really think about it is strange, because it's actually present everywhere in everything as every single thing. It's never not anywhere. Like even when I do the thing like this and I had the space between my hands, the space between my hands has love in it too. My hands have it and the space between it. Everything has it. This was shown to me one day through like prayer and meditation, where I could actually see everything, the bricks, the cars, the trees, every single thing everything that we get to see in consciousness has that substance in it. It's everywhere. So there's no way that you could be without it. Although you could imagine that you're without it and think that because you see this body over here and that body over there, that there's nothing in between you. But there's always that communication happening. So to think of love as coming from somewhere else is where the fault really is for us, right? Because we always have it and we're always in it. The substance is there, right? So when we realize that we have it, and this is where I'm going with this, when we realize we have it, there's no need to request it from anywhere else.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, because all we have to do is recognize, I'm loved, I'm in love right now. I'm in love. Like people say they want to fall in love.
You already are.
Well, fall in love, right? Fall in love. But you're in love. You're always in love, right? You can't get away from it. It's everywhere. Right? So
interesting is
recognize it.
Chasing it from somewhere else. And I think that's what we do. We chase it from, our loved ones. We chase it from strangers. We chase it from the lady at the grocery store, at the cashier. We're always seeking, okay, please love me. But if it comes from within, then you're good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's recognizing that it's there. And what I'm saying is, I know it sounds like the thing we call love is different to this, but when we really think about it, if we realize we're in love with all the laws that we know and everything like that now, if we really believe that we are in love, right, then all we'll want to do is, number one, we'll want to give that love, to share that love, to realize we have it. That's what we want to do. Or we'll want to we'll be in it so much that we'll be unaffected by people who display a lack of love, because we'll know we have it. It can't be taken away. So we won't be moving in ways that are unloving towards others anyway, because we know we have it. No one can give it to us. We have it, right? If you have it, you have it. If you have it, you live it. And that's really all it boils down to.
Yeah, for
So it's just
sure.
recognizing that so the mind can take that course and our experience will get created in that way. Because we know we have love. We're not lacking it. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a huge sense of fulfillment. And we were comparing this, King, you and I,
Yeah.
to the sun.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love that you bring that one in. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
we
Yeah.
were really comparing that.
Yeah.
I know that, like, for me, I lived in many different countries, and
Yeah.
I lived in a lot of sunny countries.
Uh-huh.
But what happened, I moved to Toronto, Canada, and I
Yeah.
lived there, and it's really beautiful to experience the four seasons. But I realized that, and I know those rainy long stretches. You're in Canada now, so you know,
I know that.
those long stretches when I didn't see the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
God knows I love those dark, beautiful clouds, but when I didn't see the sun for those long stretches,
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything at that moment.
Yeah.
What hit me was when the sun actually came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was in the clouds, I was okay. I was like, okay, there's something bugging me right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize how much I had missed the sun until I saw the sun.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So
Yeah.
when the sun came out, it gave me this, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. It's a beautiful feeling. It's like, oh, I missed you so much. And some people go, oh, Mr. Sun is here,
Yeah.
and you just cheer because you're so internally satisfied, happy, fulfilled, and you just want to hold on to that feeling,
Yeah.
And so what I realized, King, is when I moved, I'm in the US right now, and North Carolina, and one of the things I really noticed is that my being is really different right now. So I've noticed a lot of people smiling on the street, and those are so-called strangers, so people will look at me in my eyes and be like, oh, good morning, how are you? And I'm like, oh my God, like I just came from a very busy city, where people are hustling and bustling, and I'm like, this is really nice. And I talked about this on the phone, is that after a while of the warmth, the smile, the same feeling of the sun entering, and touching my face, was entering my heart when people were smiling at me. I'm like, wow, this is really amazing that a smile is bringing me the same warmth and care. And it goes back to the love thing. So you were telling me too that you had that in your experience as well.
Yes, indeed. I can express something related to that. This one day, it was way back in LA, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I can't remember, a good while back. But I had to take the bus this one day, and I got on there, and I decided to take on an experiment. I always experiment. I love experimenting. I get on there and I decide to smile, just deliberately smile, but a genuine smile, because I'm capable of smiling genuinely. I'm attached to it.
Yeah, look at that smile. I know. Yeah, I see it.
So there I go, and I'm smiling, right? I'm just smiling. No reason to smile, just smiling. And after a while of sitting there, I got on the bus. Everybody's all chaotic and some people angry and stuff like that, but I sit there and I'm just smiling. And then the girl across from me on the left over there starts smiling. Next thing, after she starts smiling, I realize everybody's a bit more talkative, and then bit by bit, people smiling. Next thing, the whole bus, I'm talking to the driver by that time. I end up by the driver, and he's kind of on a good conversation with me, so happy and stuff, and the whole bus is laughing and smiling. So
wow.
it's contagious like that, if somebody is really to focus in that then they could bring that light. They are the sun in a sense, or representative of the sun. They get to be the sun. On the dark days, you wear your well on, you are the sun, you represent, So
Yeah.
that's what happened from that experiment. And it helps me to know that that quality that we look at in the sun is our quality as well. Right? It's a quality that we have. That's why it reminds us of who we are. Right? We see the sun and we just light up. We feel joy instantly. Even though we might not just walk around with a big smile because we see the sun, we feel it inside internally. We feel everything is all right. Everything is all right. The world is well.
Yes,
Good.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So that's what the sun brings to us, and that's being the sun. And I wanted to talk on that topic of the light shining from the sun. The sun shines on everything, right? It doesn't choose whether it's going to shine on a ceiling or a blade of grass or the concrete or anything like that. It just shines and shines, and it gives to everything as it's shining. It doesn't discriminate. That's how we have to be as beings as well, able to give that love or that light from us to everything continuously. We don't discriminate.
So hard, King. It really can. And I really want to just, because that can be probably the most difficult thing that you can do. But the reward that you get is not for any particular cause or human being. It really is about your own love.
Yes.
And growing that love.
That's exactly what you said there. I love what you said there, and I didn't realize I wrote this until somebody actually brought this to my awareness recently. But in one of my passages, I wrote, love is forgiving, right? And when I said love is forgiving, I broke it down to forgiving, like we said earlier on, right? It is that because love itself is it's meant to be given. When it's given, right, from us, we become aware that we have it.
Love it. Yes.
Because, it comes to our awareness. So then if we know we have it, then we're not lacking it anymore. And that's why it's meant for giving. And forgiveness itself, the idea of that, the concept of it, is actually looking on something, seeing it as it is, right? And then being willing to dismiss any fault or anything like that, knowing that all that's really there is love. Right? You're not holding any errors based on what you see in a little body or anything like that. You're actually looking on it and dismissing whatever you thought was wrong, because that's all in the mind, and allowing love to come through that, knowing that it's only love there. There is no fault, there is no flaw. Just holding on to that truth is what allows us to be able to continue to partake in that communication of love to love, love to love. That's all that's really happening here. It's love being shared back and forth, and that increases the awareness of love's presence. And so we rise and rise because of that cycle of love communication.
Yeah, and that's really awesome. I mean, we're going to get to this part, which is forgiveness, which we're coming to.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to go back to my cycle here.
Yeah.
Love, and then disbelief. And then the anger and the rage, and then the guilt. Like, we stopped at that guilt, right? So I'm like, okay, I really didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But this enormous, and I did. I think if it was comparable to any physical muscle at the time, I would compare it to like the Incredible Hulk or like Hercules or somebody. Because it was hard. It was. But I think my driving force was, do I want to grow?
Yes. Yeah.
Do I really want to grow? Or do I want to just be on pause? Or do I want to go backwards?
Yeah.
Like, which direction do I want to move right now?
Yeah.
And what is the pause going to get? What benefit or what happiness or what joy is that going to give me? Or what is going backwards going to bring?
Yeah.
Or how about moving forward in a direction that I really, really want, and I know I can do this, So the way when I came to see you that time, I remember you could see it on my face. You're like, oh, I see, this big cloud, and it was enormous. But through, speaking with you and through, conversations, I've learned that there really is something the word forgiveness is a big word.
It is.
It's not to be taken lightly.
No.
And, we use these words all the time, "Oh, just forgive, but there's different kinds of forgiveness.
I love that you're talking about that. You just lead me to something there, and I'm gonna.
Okay. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'm tempted to jump in.
Yeah.
The forgiveness that you're talking about, there's real forgiveness, which we just discussed. The idea of leaving the past out completely, right? And actually forgetting it. You must forget it. If you haven't forgotten it, then you haven't forgiven it, right? Because it will still be in your mind, and you will act according to what's in your mind.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that's why forgiveness needs to be, you need to forget to forgive as well. However, on the other hand of that, there's this little weird thing that we call forgiveness here. It's really false forgiveness. And what it does is it says one person will watch another and say, I forgive you because I have this great quality about me that allows me to be able to forgive you. Even though you're wrong, I'm so good that I could forgive you.
I'm sure the audience knows people like that. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm holy and you're not, right? Which is not forgiveness. That's judgment, right? Straight. But that's what some people call forgiveness, right? And it's still as the individual self, their individual self feeling better than the other person. So two people are not equal when that type of forgiveness happens. And that's the problem right there. Forgiveness is supposed to establish equality again, where that communication that we're talking about can happen naturally because it's just love flowing unhindered. What happens when one person decides they're better, they decide they're up here and the other person is down here. And then they can't communicate. That's what happens. So it's all about maintaining equality, knowing that we are in love together. Forgiveness means forget whatever would have you think you're better or worse and come on the same level. We're on the same level. We're equal.
Yes.
That's what forgiveness does. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that we use these words so, it's like I love you kind of just like we use it every day in forgiveness and like, we're going to, but I mean, it's almost like being on the earth. We can't see the beautiful, massive universe that we live in. We can't see it. But when you start to, look at books and read and grow your knowledge, then you're like, whoa, it's like, it's huge. So to practice this huge word forgiveness for me was, it was really, what's funny is that now I look at it, it's just like, it was a really tough time to get to it. But when I actually got to the forgiving part, it was really seconds.
Yeah.
Like it was like a snap. It didn't
it does.
time. Okay, we're done. And with that millisecond came just, I know this is the right thing to do.
Yes.
I do it, and I don't remember. I'm not remembering why I was upset, what happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't making excuses. This is not a list of, okay, well, this is justified because this. No, there wasn't a list there as like of reasons why to forgive.
Yeah.
There wasn't something, well, I'm holding this for future.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no list, basically. It was just a moment.
Yes.
That I let it go.
Yeah.
And there was like a feeling of lightness and joy and happiness that was replacing all the pain.
Yes, exactly. And that's what it is. That moment that you're talking about right there is the moment when you recognize that everything is one again, right? It's not that you're looking outside in terms of time to go back to find out what was wrong or anything. It's just right there, right then. You recognize your equality and you recognize your oneness with whatever it is that was a problem before or whatever, right?
Yeah,
that's really what it is. Yeah,
it could be your wife, your husband, your mom, your sister. It could be finances. It could be job. It could be anything. It really could.
Yeah.
So, so that was it. King. I mean, that was why I have such a gratitude, because really what's so cool is that you almost tell me, Dana, you know this stuff.
You
I'm
do.
just,
You totally
you know,
do.
and I don't think it's just me. I think it's everybody
Everybody.
knows.
Yeah.
But what you bring out, you know, and is that you get me being really authentic, really digging in,
Yeah.
and the through the garbage, and finding what's oh, there you are, I found you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, love is always happening, and it happens in all these different, apparent different languages or all of that stuff. And again, it's all about where people put themselves in terms of their thinking.
Yes.
So it looks like if it's not happening, but it's always, always, always happening. It just must happen. That's why I always say to people, you know, because in you, there is one that always knows. That love is always in you, and that is knowledge. It's there, right? Now, your mind might tell you you don't know in an instance, and we might have a discussion to get you back to realizing that you do know, right? But that's temporary, and that's nothing, because time itself, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't even exist, right? So that's why I always speak to people and say, you know, because you do. The you that's the real you knows always, right? So I feel really happy that I get to hear you speak those words, because I know that to be you either way. And the first time we met, like you said, where we had the conversation and all that stuff, and you came, or we had that first session, you actually spoke most of the words yourself. It wasn't me speaking, it was you, right? I was doing the listening. I was listening to the real you. And what I heard was your knowledge come flowing through,
I know,
right?
and if you think about any kind of,
Anybody.
you know, course that you take, or
Yeah.
therapy, or anything, you know, or
Yeah.
spiritual healing, or anything,
Yeah.
it really is about that. It's about the person struggling, talking, and just
Yeah.
finding, searching. So, King, this was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I know we did a little bit longer than usual, but this is a
Yeah.
big topic.
It was, and it was amazing. Yeah.
I'm actually, you know, really thinking and spreading a lot of love and thoughts to, you know, some of my friends that I know are going through a really hard time,
Yeah.
and trying to find that peace. And you know, God knows that, you know, it's a continuous search. You know, I mean, we don't have all the answers, but what would you? I'd love for you to give a message to anyone right now who really feels this sense of, I'm trapped. I'm really done, you know, like I'm angry. I'm just so done. And I don't know what to do. And who's feeling that kind of conflict, like, but I have, you know, I can't leave my job, or I have children, and or something. Like, what would you say to them right now?
I would say to them, the most important thing to remember is that when the fact that they exist, right, they're the only one that exists in that place. As in, I'm King Gabriel, right? Now, there may be other people with the name King Gabriel, but the actual being that I express as has a specific purpose in this whole puzzle that we call life, right? And
Yes.
why I'm saying that is that whatever it is that is the impulse of life has created this being to express through and as, right? And it wanted it to be that way. It gave love, it gave support, it gave life, it gave everything to that being. So I have a grand purpose in this, just as you do, just as everyone else does. And we're all loved, or else we wouldn't even exist. The love force is here for us to even exist, right? So our life, even though we don't think of it that way, each individual's life is the most important life ever. Every single person, because they're that important that the source that created everything thought about them completely in 1 second to have them come about, to have them be, to have them exist, and is still doing that right now, or else they would disappear, right? It's still doing that. So love is with you always, in every single thing that you go through, right? To have any change though in the experience, we have to start becoming aware of that love that's present and recognizing that it always has us, because you wouldn't reach where you are right now, regardless of where you are, without the support of that thing. that thing is constantly giving, constantly forming into whatever you want it to be in that way, expressing and helping you in life to continually progress and evolve. So just knowing that is a security, just knowing that you're loved, knowing that regardless of, yeah, you're loved and you're worthy also, right? Definitely worthy, because if you weren't worthy, you wouldn't be here. That's the truth about it. You would just not be. You would cease to be. But you haven't ceased to be because you're hearing this right now, which means, yeah, you're loved and you're worthy and you need to be here. So don't, yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, don't search for it. Just know that you have it and it's there.
That is it. That is a
Love is
wonderful
there.
way to put
Love
it.
is really, really there.
Yeah.
You know, you have to go dig for it in your heart and your tummy, wherever you have to find it. It really is.
Yes,
It's nowhere specific. It's just there at all times. So that's really great. Well, thank you so much. I certainly feel much lighter, uplifted. I'm ready to, you know, take on the day. And I think I really appreciate your time, King, and for you giving to the world. And we really hope we made a difference in your life today.
Oh, yes, definitely. I feel very uplifted as well. It's forgiving, right? Give and we share and we feel good. And
Yes.
right. Yep.
Forgiving. Love is forgiving.
Yeah.
You know, so that's amazing. Well, thank you so much, King. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Dana. Eternal love and infinite peace.